Hey everyone, ReVice is finally here.
SODO!
Alright, as always, I'm your host, Frozen Stratos, and today, obviously, we do have our Kamen Rider Candy Toy blog to get through, as well as some interesting SMP information and some mini-plot news. But before all of that, obviously, we have to talk about this poster. Yeah, that's right. For the brand new movie, they released a poster. This is going to be the crossover movie and whatnot. We got some Den-O. We got some old Rangers coming back. But more importantly, we have ReVice. Now, a lot of the leakers and, the people on, on high alert for all these rumors and whatnot, they're saying that this is pretty much them. This is not like, some strange villain that might show up. This is probably ReVice. So I'm gonna put money and say this is gonna be ReVice. I'm betting on that. But they look great. He's a bit of a gremlin looking dude, and the dude in the back looks pretty evil as well, so I don't know, this'll be fun. It's a neat turn of events. I always like pink/magenta showing up in my riders. That's awesome. Speaking of colors though, we did hear early on that one of the rumors was saying that the rider was going to be green, purple, and orange. But in this one, we have him as pink. So those rumors have actually been revised to potentially be a different form that they saw. Not 100% sure. Very interested to see what goes on about that, or if these rumors even held any water to begin with. We did not get a good look at the belts, so who knows? We have no idea. But it looks good. Also, the dude in the back, he looks like a shark, but apparently someone had pointed this out on Twitter that, like, the little white hair up there actually kind of looks like the bottom of a prehistoric whale. So that might be cool, if they're doing some, like, deep cuts in dinosaur lore. It's just some dinosaur deep cuts. I think that would be a welcome change to the typical dinosaur roster we typically get. And it looks like ReVice is going to be dinosaur themed, maybe just because of that big T-Rex smile. I really hope he's not a T-Rex. Maybe a raptor? I don't know. We'll see. Honestly, once again, I thought this was some 0-1 stuff that just sort of creeped in as a villain. But I don't know. I guess it's just ReVice, so we'll see. We'll see. Toei still hasn't said anything about this. They just dropped this, so that's cool. I like surprises, and this is one of those. Anyway, that is it for these guys, but that is not it for movie news, because last week, Sentai was just having a field day and talking about whatever the hell they wanted to with the Gokaiger cast, because they revealed a trailer for a brand new Gokaiger film. They had these different character portraits all showing up, looking nice and fancy with their blacks and blues, but then the cut to Marvelous, who's wearing an eye patch, because this is dark and edgy now. We're 10 years after. This is 10 Gokaiger? So for Kazoku Sentai Gokaiger's 10th anniversary, we're doing 10 Gokaiger. I'm not sure why we dropped the 10th anniversary or 10 years after sort of situation, but 10 Gokaiger, fine. It's minimalist, we'll go with it. Sure, if you want to be fancy. On top of that, the movie is actually set to come out next year on March 9th. And the Blu-ray and DVD, that's actually going to be coming with a Gokai Galleon key. I have no idea if they're going to be, like, putting this movie out in cinemas or anything, if they're planning for that. I don't know what's going on with their situation on that front, but what I do know is that this movie is going to come with a gimmick item, and I think this thing is just gonna, like, split in half on those hinges and, like, have a key, so that's cool. But it's really strange that they have a key with no Mobirates. Oh wait, it's Bandai. Of course we have a new Mobirates. This is the Memorial Mobirates, and it looks the same? It's actually not the same. Some substantial differences, or substantial changes were made to the initial DX release. They covered up all the holes and all the battery compartments and stuff to make it, just look way more accurate, and I appreciate that. They went the extra mile here with this item. Though I do wonder if it is the same size, because that DX one, that's pretty sizable anyway. On top of that, obviously, you're going to be getting some keys with it. And these are actually different than any of the ones that we've gotten before. Even the one-click ones, because these do the one-click thing, but it has like a recessed button. Another thing that I was wondering about was like, are the keys going to be the same? Because sometimes they switch the pin systems around, and then your DX ones aren't compatible with the super expensive high-end adult collectible ones. But I have mine here, and I believe the pins are basically the same here. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I have a feeling your DX ones are going to work with the new Memorial Mobirates set. Also, I appreciate that they're adding the extra gimmick of the spring thing, but like, you can just do that. You don't need a spring. Anyway, that's just a me thing. Excuse me. Yeah, so you're getting some new keys. Cool, good. You're also going to be getting some buttons on the side to cycle through some background music. So, and then also some phrases from the cast. That's fun. You even got Navi stuck in there, so that's cool. It's also going to come with a display stand if you wanted a reason to pick this one up that's like very much different than the original DX one. I guess you get a stand. It's black and unpainted, but it's there. And then also, like I said, you're going to be getting some keys with this set. This actually is set to release in December, I believe. It's going to retail for 11,000 yen in Japan. But if you go to TwoKollectibles now, you can get it for $152, which is rather pricey. I believe that's like, what, a $41 markup? But, you know, it's importing stuff. You'll be fine. If you want to make the full payment, that is $152. I feel very bad for everyone who is trying to collect this, because that's not the only thing they got for us. Do you want more Ranger keys? I know Josh does. Yeah, basically every single Red Ranger is going to be getting a key in this new style. We have no idea what's going to be happening with the other Rangers. It's honestly up in the air whether or not we even get any other colors outside of the Gokaigers, but here's a set of all 35. This one comes out in December as well, and is priced at $200 on TwoKollectibles. And the actual price in Japan, that's 15,400 yen, so $154. Once again, about a $40-ish markup, a little more than $40 markup on this one. You're getting a lot out of this set, so I don't think it's all that bad. And these are 35 keys. And on top of, you know, all the reds, you're getting Aka Red. And once again, I had the thought of, okay, well, maybe the Gokaiger pins are the same, but is everyone else going to be the same? This is the only one that actually had other pins available to look at. And this image actually comes from CS Toys, so thank you to them. But I believe these pins look just about the same. So hopefully these two examples are a sign of a trend rather than, you know, just a fluke. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Very excited to see about these because, you know, these old ones, they had those little markings, the 2011, blah, 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 China. So hopefully these new ones will be a lot better. Anyway, that is it for these keys. Let's now move into SMP. Sorry about this blurry image, but we finally have in-hand images of... I almost said Gao King. Gao Muscle Striker. Now, we already know a lot about this stuff, so really, if you want, there are links in the description down below to the full article on here. I'm just going to give you the highlights because we're already running rather long. So, here's everything in its entirety so far, everything that's molded. There are no stickers on these yet. Not to say that there won't be in the future, it's just they're probably working out the paint colors right now, and that's just the stage that they are in currently. Some things we didn't know about before, Gorilla's mouth opens, and it looks really weird. Outside of that, I think that's it. Like, they showed off some posing. It's not, I don't know, not all that special. It's cool that they're in hand. That's what I'll say. Very excited to see how this eventually ends up. But what this means is that they've committed to a mold. They've actually made the tools for it, and this is probably proportionally what it's going to look like. Like I said, they're probably just working on the colors now. Anyway, that is it for Gao Muscle Striker. Let's take a look at the mini-plot blog. Because there's actually some really interesting stuff that went into these. We don't typically cover these blogs, but I don't know. I kind of felt like it, so let's go through it. Here's everything that comes in the set. It looks like the main mech is going to be split up in the first 3 boxes, and suspiciously, Ricky and Katana are just in their own box, and we'll talk about some really awesome implications about that later. But as they are now, obviously, you can do everything that you're gonna want this thing to do. Here's the crocodile mothership looking thing. Looks pretty good. Here's Ricky and Katana. They're looking fire. You can add these two to the mothership to create the individual vehicle modes. I think the crawler and the whatever crocodile thing is. I don't keep up with the names of these things, but they also work out as vehicles for the YUDO figures, so that's really cool. We get to see a little bit more scaling here, and these do seem to be YUDO-esque scale, so I'm very excited about that aspect of this. Speaking of which, these guys are tiny, but that doesn't mean they don't have articulation, because, oh shoot, this is not the right image, but they have arm motion. They do have I guess, what would you call this, like a cha-cha motion. They have ball-jointed arms. They do also have a swiveling head, or potentially ball-jointed head. It's rather unclear in this blog. But you can also do this. I don't know if this is part of the show, honestly. I haven't kept up with it in a bit, but you can do this. You can perform this if you would like. On top of that, you can also transform this thing into both of the modes, and it looks fantastic on both ends. Here is the Shinken form, here is the Oren form. Fantastic. There's quite a bit of articulation in here. Each of these individual bubbles are specific callouts to articulation points, so there's a lot of them here. On top of that, we have some on the other arm as well. Fantastic, looking great. You can even swap out the hand with the already released mini-plot one from the first Zenkaiger set. So you can reuse those hands. If you even got an extra box of the original set, you could potentially just use that stand as well. So that's cool. And it absolutely works out for posing here. On top of that, the mouth opens, yada yada. This is all very awesome. Very cool stuff. Let's now talk about the legs, because here's how this would have worked out. This figure would have worked out had they used the same articulation scheme as the first Zenkaiger robot, and it doesn't look good. The knee is so far up and it cuts through the sculpt. You don't really get too much range out of that. So what they did instead was, well, here's basically the result. The legs move out all the way. You have the leg going back about that far, and the knee joint. The knee joint is actually set behind the knee, and you get this really strange gap. But in motion and in play, it does seem to disguise itself pretty well. Like, this actually really works, and, you know, mini-plot is all about articulation on this front, and it absolutely works here. Anyway, speaking of articulation being, you know, setting the precedent and being the overall thing that they want to I guess, display with these figures, that means that the gimmick of the alligator head eating the SD robot and forcing him through to the head, that doesn't actually work here, because there is a peg there for swivel. So unfortunately, you can't do that, but what you can do is you can move it in such a way to make it look as if, like, it almost gets eaten, and then suddenly, boop beep, his head's there. So you can kind of get it to look like, just in picture, how that would feel. So I don't know, that's an interesting consideration. I appreciate that they went for articulation rather than functionality because, you know, you already have a functional robot. That is the DX robot. You're coming to Mini-Plow for a different experience, and I appreciate them attempting to differentiate that. That's cool. Another thing is the head, because these heads are actually different. It turns out that instead of having the heads turn into the other heads, what they did was just swap out the heads entirely. So you're getting a rather proportional looking head that'll work with the rest of the robot, rather than having just the SD head on top. Here is the Katana, I believe, swapping out the head. Looks pretty good. On top of that, here is the back of the O-Ranger one. Very good stuff. I like it. On top of that, they also talked about, hey, so proportionally, we wanted to favor the mecha form rather than the transformation and the gimmick form. So what that means is that the hand doesn't exactly fit inside the crocodile head. And you can see it here. The hand like butts up against that panel there. So in order to mitigate that, what they did was create a mounting point on the back so you could just put a fist on the butt if you would like to do that, if you would like to hide it there. Or in this form, you can hide it right there in the shoulder, if that is an option available to you as you're playing with it. So that is that, I believe. And on top of that, they ended the blog with a look at YUDO. YUDO 2. This is, oh no, I just forgot his name. TwoKaiser. TwoKaiser is his name. So yeah, they said YUDO is in production. Scale-wise, like I said earlier, he looks very good with his brothers. YUDO definitely scales well with these, and they do seem to be, more so than ever, companion lines. And this figure actually stands in stark contrast to the DX one that we got. Because if you look at this one, it's a little cheesier colored. This one has a lot more gold to it, but I guess, you know, it could just be my eye. Another thing to note is that the chest actually has a cut in it. So maybe it can potentially form swap via the chest. Because if you notice, the original Change Hero series figure, those actually swapped out with the pegs on the chest rather than like the full-on chest removal. The Shinken form was able to recreate the accurate chest symbol, but the O-Ranger form was not. In this scenario that we have for YUDO, you could potentially recreate the correct ones going forward on each of the forms, as well as maybe making it a little more form-fitting. Another thing that I wanted to point out was that the weapons are cheese here, and these are not cheese. This is, you know, actually painted in the correct color. I do also wonder if we're going to be getting extra heads for this, because the symbols on the forehead are supposed to change as well, and that is, yet again, another sticking point of the Change Hero series figure that it was not able to do. Either way, very, very excited to see what goes on about this YUDO figure. It looks like it's using the newer sculpt that KAIZER was using. This one, using the old sculpt, because, I mean, you can tell because you can see the knee joint. And here, they try to disguise it a little bit more. So, very awesome, very exciting. That is it, however, for KAIZER. Let us finally go into our last story. This is SODO Kamen Rider, and I believe SODO is the predominant thing in this blog. There was some finger puppet stuff, but we're not going to talk about that. Let's just talk about SODO, because there's some pretty cool things in here, like Tategami Lion. It looks great. And there are a few things about this guy that even the guys and I were speculating about, because we were wondering how they were going to handle the head. A lot of people were wondering how they were going to handle the head. So let's just dive into it, because there are a lot of considerations here. A lot of people, even in the surveys, were thinking, hey, is the head going to ruin the articulation? How is this figure even doing? Well, the first thing they wanted to talk about wasn't the articulation just yet, was their visual approach to this, because they had to make sure that there was a lot of detail in this sculpt. The problem with things like this is that if you don't add enough detail, it's just gonna look plasticky. So I hope you can tell, maybe full screen this video if you can't. There are individual little strands, or at least like streaks, within the hair to give it a more full look, and I definitely appreciate that attention to detail and just making sure this looks good, as well as functions. But yeah, like I said, this does function. Here is the articulation of the head. They did not compromise at all with this thing. Even if you take a look at the original Saber figure, this actually has more head movement than the original Saber figure. That's wild. See, the mane is mounted back here, sort of at the top of the skull. It's a little bit unnatural, but they wanted to make sure you could get this thing in all the right poses. You can even put them into flight poses, which is appropriate for this form. And you get just so much range. I'm very happy about this. Even if it looks a little bit strange, I definitely appreciate this. They also went through quite a few revisions on this thing. Mr. S, no relation, of Mega House made sure to, he was the one that was actually sculpting this. This is the first one that he sculpted, and here's how it looks on the figure. Obviously, this sacrifices a lot of range of motion, and they made sure to you know, add in that articulation back in the next revision that they did. This is it. It functioned rather well. You got the articulation out of it, even in the mane itself, but it did not have that silhouette that they wanted. They had to get it flowing down back and not just like sort of a bob cut. You had to get, you know, the look of it down right. So that led us then into this one we got, the third version. Technically, this is the second version because the first one you saw, they probably weren't going to use that one. They were just using it as a base. So they called that one 00, where the one before this was 01 and this is 02 for, I guess, the prototypes of these. So this is how that came to be. Outside of that, he looks really, really good. This is all actually made out of white plastic, so they didn't have trouble doing any sort of paint matching or doing any sort of paint work because it's just gonna present like the color that you think it will because it's on white. Speaking of paint matching though, they were able to really get the sticker detail on the chest to paint match well with the blue behind it. I really, really like that. On top of that, basically the chest and the belt are the only stickers here. I mean, yeah, you have some on the forehead and the belt strap, but outside of that, these are really the only stickers, and it absolutely benefits from that. The hands look really good too. That's not all they showed off though, because that figure had so few stickers. This figure, well, it's a different story. This is Cross Saber featuring Saber, I believe, and you can already notice what the major changes are, as well as the major accessory differences. Because as we've been talking about with the last few Cross Saber releases, is that they come with different swords. This also comes with a different angled out hand. But for the sword, it actually does, you know, it is all the way up at the top rung, and it has the 4 little logos in there that do look, once again, very, very accurate. On top of that, here is everything. I believe this is these are all of the variants that you need. So between everything you got, you have all the sword variants. That's very awesome. You get one box, you get them all. Good stuff. On top of that, we gotta talk about the stickers because they really did actually go over budget on this one, I believe. At least that's how they were talking about this thing. They didn't even know if they had the budget for this. They even put stickers on the insides of all of the capes and all of the tassels and everything, just so that when you look at this from the front, it will have detail all over the place. Even the chest, the lion chest, is done in stickers. The stickers are gonna, oh man, it's gonna suck. It's not SODO's fault for making this design, but these stickers are probably gonna suck a lot. So I don't know if I'm looking forward to this, but I do appreciate all the effort and time that went into this. But yeah, that is it, actually, for these figures. This is everything that's going to be coming out in book 7, book 8, I believe. No, this is book 8. I think it's book 8 because we have 9 and 10 left after this. Yeah, book 8, I believe, this is everything in it. We are still missing, I think, 2 more figures from here, so we'll definitely see what goes on. 2 figures and or 4 boxes, so we'll see about that. After that, though, they did mention that, hey, there is going to be a curveball next week. Don't know what it is. Very excited about it. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, we never expect things with SODO, and we are always blown away. So when they tell us deliberately to expect something weird, I don't even know what to think. I also would like to mention that Ghost would probably fit here. We already got the news a while ago that Blades and Spectre were going to be getting a special. I really hope this feeds into my theory that you know, each of those is going to get a new Saber form, as well as you know, a Ghost Rider appearing, and that would really fit well into a set. You have 3 main Ghost Riders, and you have the 3 main you know, Saber Riders with ghost forms potentially in them. So that is a whole 12-piece box that you could make. Do it, SODO. I'm sure they have to do it at some point. I don't know, though. Very excited to see what goes on next week. Also, while you're here, I also created some Gokaiger merch. If you wanted any of that, if you're still watching and enjoying that series, that is linked in the description down below, as well as some links to how you can help support the Black Lives Matter movement, hashtag Stop Anti-Asian Hate, as well as a donation page to the Trevor Project. It is Pride Month after all, so go ahead if you would like to help. The links are in the description down below. But hey, that is it for me this week. Thanks for sticking with it. It's almost been half an hour. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it